We were talking earlier at the Bible study this morning, and we just, Todd was leading the Bible study, and he was saying, God lays out plan A for us, never plan B for us, always plan A. We don't want it, here's another plan A. We still don't want it, here's another plan A. And we're always the people who are coming up with plan B. I want this plan, I want this one. So this is exactly how I'm feeling. And the amazing thing is, the Father's reaction is that He indulges in His Son's request. No questions asked. And that is so amazing, because to me, as a parent, it hurts. It will hurt. But sometimes you gotta let your children grow. You have to let them live, and you have to let them learn. And I believe God does the same thing to us. And since the beginning of time, God being a loving God has never, never, ever forced Himself upon us. Never. That's why He doesn't force us to believe in Him. That's why He gives us this free will. Move on to verse 13 and 16. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had. See, when he got his inheritance, I'm pretty sure part of the inheritance is the land. So he has to sell it, right? And I read that in the Jewish culture, way back then too, it's illegal to sell your inheritance. And so, obviously he can't take the land with him, because the Bible says that he gathered all he had and set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. So, after he had spent everything there, there was a severe famine in that whole country. When it rains, it pours. You heard of that before, right? When it rains, it pours. So I wonder, as I was reading this, so the younger son is out of money. And I'm pretty sure when he first got to that country, I'm pretty sure he had many, many friends. I'm sure everybody wanted to be his friends, as he would be spending freely, and on whatever he did to spend all his money. And then the country was suffering economically. So I wonder what happened to all his friends. No. So he's left to fend for himself. He needed to find a job to support himself now. Walk around, no jobs. This reminds me of the Bible. One of the Bible verses say, you can do anything you want to, but not everything is beneficial. So here, the father is allowing the son to waste all of his inheritance, when he knows that not everything he does will be beneficial. But look at this. This is where this is the beginning of what I really want to talk about. Verse 17. When he came to his senses. Turn to your neighbor and say, he came to his senses. Now turn to the other person next to you and tell them to come to their senses. Come to your senses. Yes. How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? So now he's realizing, oh, what have I done? At home, there would be plenty of food to eat. I wouldn't be so hungry. See, he couldn't even find a job. Let me back up. He went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. What a lowly job, right? And you know what? He was so hungry, he was so poor, that he was jealous of the pigs. He was. Because verse 16 says, he longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating. but no one gave him anything. So talking about what is it? Rock bottom hard, right? He's there. He's there. He wants food from the pigs, and nobody is even giving him anything. And now that he comes to his senses, he's thinking that, I was living comfortably in my father's house, have all these. Well, heck, my father's servants are well off than me right now. They have better food to eat. They have plenty to eat right now. So when he came to his senses, he's decided that he's going to go to the Father. And he's going to tell the Father that he sinned against heaven and against him. So this is almost like, a happy ending here. I mean, it's not really an ending. But, we can't help those who don't want to help themselves, right? That's why when I see these verses, I said, when he said that he came to his senses. And that, it's the beginning of getting help. Now, in order for us to be helped, we have to acknowledge that we have problems, isn't it? And as a matter of fact, the first step to a healing process is to recognize that we need help. We have to come to our senses just like the prodigal son. Okay, our desire to be better and to want more stem from the Garden of Eden. You guys remember that story, right? The Garden of Eden? Because there's a tree in the middle of the garden. God said, you can eat anything, you can have anything, but not this tree. And Satan managed to tempt them, and they wanted that tree because they wanted more, because they wanted to know more. They want to know more than God. They want to know what God knows. So that's why I think from then on, our desire, we're never satisfied because we wanted more. We're not trusting God, that God knows what's best for us. Okay, moving on down to verse 20. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. And this here tells me that God is doing the same thing to us. See, he let us go. He doesn't force anything upon us. He knows exactly what the outcome is going to be. So he kept his eyes fixed, far away, waiting for us to come back. He has a vantage point over us. The son didn't have to come too far when the father noticed him. See, God has never lose sight of us. No matter where we're at in life, no matter how much we've wandered, he is keeping his eyes fixed, waiting for us, waiting to see us there. The son, on verse 21, the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. They celebrated. This is such an awesome example. When the son came back home, when the father saw the son, the father ran to where the son is. He doesn't wait. If it were me, I would say, let him come, let him suffer a little longer. I'm not going to run to him. I'm going to make him beg, right? I'm going to make her beg or him beg. But the father doesn't have that attitude, and he runs because he's expecting us to come back. He rejoices with us. He has so much pure love for you and me that he did not a single time in the Bible did it say, he told the son, I told you so. Never once, I told you so. There is so much misconceptions of God or about who God is, or perhaps maybe it's our fault, for allowing other people to believe who Christians should be or who God is. But the thing is that people have such different understanding of who God is. They think that God is so demanding, and that he's, this horrible God. If you don't do what he says, if you're a sinner, he strikes you down. And perhaps, we're putting on this righteousness act that Christians have to be righteous. I don't know. I mean, I'm not righteous. I'm not at all. And this parable here is just to illustrate the grandness of God's love. You guys remember what the 10 Commandments are? Okay, what's the first one? Shall not have any God before, not use God's name in vain, right? And all those 10 commandments there is to help us, guiding us to get closer to God. It's not an end-all, be-all thing. Some people said, oh man, the 10 Commandments, I cannot uphold all these laws. I cannot become a Christian. I cannot. It's hard to do. But that's not God's purpose. The 10 Commandments there is supposed to be like a signpost for us to help us get closer to God. And that's the thing. See, look at God's response. Look at the Father's response, just like God's response. We stray away from Him. We do what He doesn't want us to do, but when we came back, He accepted us with open arms. In Psalm 103, David described God as one who forgives all sins, heals all our diseases, crowns us with love and compassion, works righteousness and justice for all the oppressed, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love. He does not treat us as our sins deserve, or repay us according to our iniquities. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so great is His love for those who fear Him. As far as the east is from the west, so far has He removed our transgression from us.